journey of African storytelling began long before written records. In the rhythm of a drum, the flicker of the fire, and the voice of a griot, carrying stories from generation to generation. African storytelling has always been a communal act, a platform that connects people to their ancestors, to the land, and to each other. Griots and oral historians held entire lineages in memory. Folktales filled with clever animals taught timeless lessons. Through these stories, African communities preserved knowledge, passed on values, and resisted cultural erasure. Africa's cultural diversity is unparalleled, comprising thousands of ethnic groups, each with its own languages, traditions, and social structures. This diversity is mirrored in the continent's folklore, where stories serve as a medium for expressing communal values, beliefs, and histories. African folktales, diverse and rich, vary significantly across the continent, reflecting the unique cultures, histories, and environments of their regions. These regional variations highlight the adaptability of storytelling traditions to local contexts, serving as a mirror to the community's beliefs, values, and social structures. West African folklore is distinguished by its vibrant oral traditions, where the griot plays a crucial role in preserving and disseminating cultural heritage. Griots are not just storytellers. They are custodians of history and tradition, weaving tales that integrate the community's past with moral and ethical lessons for the present. In West African folklore, Anansi the spider stands out as a quintessential trickster figure, symbolizing the value placed on intelligence, ingenuity, and resilience. The Nansi's tales, which often involve outsmarting more powerful adversaries, underscore the belief in the power of wit over brute strength. In East Africa, storytelling is deeply intertwined with moral and educational purposes, often conveyed through animal fables. These tales serve as engaging mediums for imparting wisdom and values to younger generations. The Swahili coast, a melting pot of African, Arab, and Persian cultures, produces tales that reflect this rich cultural fusion, incorporating elements like jinnis or jinn from Islamic mythology, showcasing the interplay between different cultural influences in storytelling. The prominence of animal fables in East African storytelling highlights the use of familiar natural elements to explore human virtues and vices, teaching lessons about wisdom, humility, and the consequences of one's actions. Southern African tales often draw inspiration from the region's dramatic landscapes and diverse wildlife, emphasizing the interconnectedness of humans and the natural world. These narratives frequently embody moral lessons about respect, conservation, and the symbiotic relationships between all living things, underscoring the intrinsic value of the natural world. North African storytelling, with its roots in Arabic and Berber cultures, presents a rich tapestry of oral and written narratives that blend magic, morality, and mystery. The storytelling tradition in North Africa is marked by its integration of Middle Eastern influences, as seen in the legendary 1001 Nights, which features tales of adventure, magic, and moral lessons. African storytelling is a richly diverse and dynamic tradition that encompasses a wide range of styles and techniques. These distinctive styles not only make the storytelling process engaging and interactive, but also serve to deepen the connection between the storyteller and the audience, reinforcing the communal and participatory nature of African narratives. Call and response is a hallmark of African storytelling, creating a lively and interactive atmosphere that involves the audience directly in the narrative. This technique fosters a sense of unity and participation, breaking down the barrier between the storyteller and the listeners. This approach emphasizes storytelling as a communal activity, where everyone present is a part of the narrative process, contributing to the creation of the story's atmosphere and its progression. Through call and response, listeners become active participants, responding to prompts, finishing sentences, or even contributing to the storyline, making the storytelling experience dynamic and collaborative. Music and rhythm are deeply woven into the fabric of African storytelling, enhancing the narrative and evoking emotional resonance. The integration of music underscores the importance of oral traditions in African cultures, where stories are not just told but performed. Music sets the emotional tone of the story, guiding the listener's emotional journey through the narrative. It can signal shifts in mood, highlight dramatic moments, or underscore moral lessons. In some traditions, the story itself may be sung, with the melody carrying the narrative forward. This melding of music and story amplifies the tale's impact, making it memorable and emotionally powerful. The incorporation of proverbs and riddles into storytelling is a distinctive feature that enriches the narrative with wisdom and depth. These elements invite reflection and engagement, challenging listeners to think critically and apply the story's lessons to their own lives. Proverbs distill complex moral and ethical lessons into concise, memorable phrases, encapsulating the wisdom of generations. Riddles stimulate the listener's intellect and imagination, encouraging active participation in unraveling the story's deeper meanings and moral lessons. African storytelling often transcends the verbal, incorporating gestures, facial expressions, and movements to create a vivid, immersive experience. This performative aspect brings stories to life, engaging the senses and the imagination. Physical expressions and movements add a visual layer to the storytelling, making the narrative more engaging and helping to illustrate key moments or character traits. The combination of verbal narrative, music, and physical performance makes African storytelling a holistic, multi-sensory experience that fully immerses the audience in the tale being told. In African storytelling, language serves as much more than a mere conduit for narrative. It is a vibrant, living expression of culture, embodying the history, philosophy, and identity of its people. The intricacies of language in African folktales highlight the continent's linguistic diversity and the deep cultural significance embedded within these narratives. Africa's linguistic landscape is one of the most diverse in the world, with thousands of languages spoken across the continent. This diversity is reflected in the myriad ways folktales are told, with variations in language bringing different nuances and emphases to the same story. Each language, with its unique vocabulary, idioms, and expressions, offers a distinct lens through which to view the tale, enriching the narrative with cultural depth and specificity. The same folktale can manifest differently across languages, with variations that may highlight unique moral lessons, character traits, or cultural values pertinent to the linguistic community. Language shapes and is shaped by the cultural worldview of its speakers. In storytelling, language conveys not just the plot but the underlying cultural philosophies and perceptions of the world. The oral tradition of storytelling in Africa places a premium on the performative qualities of language. Storytellers masterfully employ tone, rhythm, pace, and pauses to bring stories to life, creating an immersive experience for the audience. Through changes in tone and pacing, storytellers convey the emotional landscape of the narrative, drawing listeners into the world of the story. The rhythm of language can evoke different atmospheres, from the suspense of a chase to the solemnity of a moral lesson, enhancing the storytelling experience through auditory means. The role of language in African folktales is perhaps most vividly seen in the use of proverbs, riddles, and wordplay. These linguistic elements are integral to the storytelling tradition, serving both to entertain and to impart wisdom. Proverbs distill complex cultural philosophies into concise, memorable phrases, reflecting the community's values and norms. They are often used within stories to underscore moral lessons or to provide commentary on the action. Riddles and wordplay stimulate the listener's intellect, inviting them to decipher meanings and engage with the story on a deeper level. This interaction between storyteller and audience highlights the dialogic nature of storytelling, where the tale becomes a space for exploration and reflection. Ethnicity plays a pivotal role in shaping the narratives, themes, and characters of African folktales. These stories are not just entertainment, they are a vessel through which the ethos, values, and historical consciousness of an ethnic group are conveyed and preserved. Through the lens of ethnicity, African folktales offer rich insights into the diversity and complexity of the continent's cultural landscapes. Let's explore the influence of ethnicity on folktales, highlighting the ways in which these narratives reflect and reinforce ethnic identity. Folktales across Africa often celebrate cultural heroes and ancestral spirits, figures emblematic of an ethnic group's virtues, achievements, and historical experiences. These characters, whether mythical or based on historical figures, serve as models of behavior and sources of inspiration for the community. Through tales of cultural heroes, the accomplishments and virtues of the past are kept alive in the collective memory, linking present and future generations to their ancestral heritage. Ancestral spirits in folktales underscore the spiritual dimension of ethnicity, representing the ongoing presence and guidance of ancestors in the lives of the community. African folktales often embody the social structures and moral codes unique to an ethnic group, serving as an educational tool for imparting the community's values and norms. Stories frequently illustrate the roles and responsibilities of individuals within the community, from leadership and governance to kinship and social obligations. Through narratives that highlight virtues such as courage, honesty, and community spirit, folktales serve as moral guides, teaching younger generations the values that are esteemed within the ethnic group. Some folktales may reflect historical conflicts or alliances between different ethnic groups, offering narrative expressions of group identity, solidarity, and the complexities of inter-ethnic relations. Tales that recount historical conflicts or rivalries can reinforce a sense of group identity and distinctiveness, highlighting the virtues and resilience of the ethnic group. Conversely, stories of alliances and cooperation between groups can serve as reminders of shared history and mutual support, promoting a sense of broader community and inter-ethnic harmony. Religion plays a significant role in shaping African folktales, imbuing narratives with spiritual significance and moral guidance. The diverse religious landscape of Africa, featuring a rich tapestry of indigenous spiritualities alongside major world religions like Christianity and Islam, provides a multifaceted backdrop for storytelling traditions. These narratives serve not only as entertainment but also as vehicles for spiritual education, ethical reflection, and the transmission of religious values. Let's explore how religion influences African folktales, from creation myths to the blending of diverse spiritual perspectives. African folktales frequently explore the origins of the world, humanity, and natural phenomena through the lens of religious and spiritual beliefs. These creation myths are foundational narratives that offer insights into the cosmological views of different cultures, revealing how communities understand their place in the universe and their relationship with the divine. By incorporating creation stories and explanations of natural phenomena, folktales serve as a medium through which religious worldviews are woven into the cultural fabric, affirming the presence of the sacred in everyday life. These tales often emphasize the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual realms, highlighting the significance of ancestral spirits, deities, and the natural world in the collective consciousness of communities. Religious principles and ethics are central to many African folktales, providing a framework for teaching and reinforcing moral values. Through narratives that feature trials, tribulations, and triumphs, listeners are encouraged to reflect on virtues and vices, guided by the moral compass of their religious traditions. Stories that promote honesty, generosity, humility, and respect for the divine reflect the moral teachings of various religions, serving as instructive tales that guide listeners toward ethical behavior. Respect for ancestral spirits and the divine is a recurring theme, with tales often emphasizing the importance of spiritual reverence and the consequences of neglecting religious duties or moral obligations. In areas where different religions coexist, African folktales can exhibit a syncretic blending of religious beliefs and practices. This syncretism reflects the adaptive and inclusive nature of African storytelling traditions, showcasing the ability of narratives to embrace and integrate diverse spiritual perspectives. Folktales in syncretic cultures might combine elements of indigenous spiritualities with Christian or Islamic motifs, creating stories that resonate with the shared experiences and blended beliefs of the community. Through the inclusion of diverse religious elements, folktales act as a unifying force, fostering a sense of inclusivity and mutual respect among followers of different faiths. The impact of religion on African folktales highlights the deep interconnection between spirituality and storytelling in African cultures. These narratives serve as a mirror reflecting the religious diversity of the continent, embodying the spiritual beliefs, moral teachings, and ethical values of various communities. In African folktales, symbols serve as a bridge between the tangible and the intangible, offering a window into the complex tapestry of African cultures, spiritual beliefs, and societal values. Drawing from the natural world, everyday life, and cultural artifacts, symbols in these narratives convey deep meanings, enriching stories with layers of insight and wisdom. Animals are central to African folktales, often carrying symbolic weight that transcends their literal presence in the stories. Each animal is carefully chosen for its perceived characteristics, reflecting societal values, moral teachings, and cultural insights. Animals become embodiments of specific virtues, vices, or human traits, with their actions and interactions serving as allegories for human behavior. For instance, the clever and resourceful hare represents wit and the ability to overcome challenges through intelligence, while the slow but steady tortoise symbolizes wisdom and the virtue of patience. The symbolic use of animals in folktales reflects the deep connection between African societies and the natural world, showcasing a profound understanding and respect for the characteristics and roles of different animals within the ecosystem. The symbolism of natural elements in African folktales speaks to the interconnectedness of life, the environment, and spiritual belief. These elements carry rich connotations, shaping the narrative and its moral and philosophical underpinnings. Often symbolizing life, purification, and transition, water features in tales of creation, rebirth, and spiritual cleansing, reflecting its essential role in sustaining life and its transformative properties. Symbolizing growth, life, and community, trees often stand as metaphors for human life and social organization. Forests, as mysterious and untamed spaces, could represent the unknown, challenges to be overcome, or places of learning and initiation. Cultural artifacts in African folktales are imbued with symbolism, representing connections to ancestry, community, and the spiritual realm. These objects are not merely functional but carry deep cultural and spiritual significance, often symbolizing communication and unity. Drums in folktales can represent the voice of the community or a medium for connecting with the spiritual world. They underscore the importance of storytelling, music, and dance in fostering communal bonds and cultural continuity. Masks are potent symbols of transformation, the presence of ancestors, or the embodiment of spiritual forces. In folktales, they can signify moral lessons, the crossing of thresholds, or the expression of societal roles and identities. The power of symbols in African folktales lies in their ability to convey complex concepts, values, and historical narratives in a nuanced and accessible manner. Through the use of metaphor, storytellers weave complex narratives that transcend the literal, inviting listeners into a rich world of symbolism where deeper truths about life, morality, and the human experience are explored. Metaphors become the language through which cultural, spiritual, and ethical ideas are communicated, engaging listeners in a dialogue that stretches beyond the boundaries of the tale itself. In many African folktales, the metaphor of a journey or quest is employed to represent life's journey with its inherent challenges, discoveries, and transformations. These narratives often follow a protagonist who must embark on a significant quest, facing and overcoming obstacles that mirror the trials of human existence. The journey often symbolizes the pursuit of knowledge, understanding, or spiritual enlightenment, reflecting the value placed on wisdom and learning in many African cultures. The trials faced by the protagonist serve as lessons in resilience, courage, and perseverance, teaching listeners about the virtues needed to navigate life's complexities successfully. The dichotomy of light and darkness is a powerful metaphor found in African folktales, embodying the contrasts between knowledge and ignorance, good and evil, or life and death. This metaphor speaks to the universal human experience of navigating moral landscapes, making choices, and seeking understanding. Through the interplay of light and darkness, tales explore the dual nature of the world and the human spirit, encouraging listeners to reflect on the balance of opposing forces within themselves and their communities. Life often symbolizes guidance, hope, and enlightenment, offering a beacon for characters and, by extension, listeners to follow as they seek wisdom and truth. Transformation, be a character's changing form, the shifting of seasons, or the metamorphosis of landscapes, serves as a potent metaphor for personal growth, the cyclical nature of life, and the consequences of actions. These stories convey the inevitability of change and the potential for renewal and redemption. Tales of transformation symbolize the journey of self-discovery and personal evolution, highlighting the potential for individuals to change and grow through their experiences. Transformations that follow the natural cycles of growth, decay, and renewal reflect the understanding of life as a dynamic, ever-changing process, emphasizing the importance of adaptation and resilience. In some stories, transformation acts as a metaphor for the consequences of one's choices, underscoring the moral and ethical dimensions of actions and their impact on oneself and others. The use of metaphor enriches the storytelling tradition, offering a lens through which to explore complex ideas about life, morality, and the cosmos. Through journeys and quests, the interplay of light and darkness, and tales of transformation, storytellers convey profound cultural, spiritual, and ethical insights. African storytelling is adorned with symbols and metaphors that carry deep meanings, reflective of the continent's cultural, historical, and environmental diversity. The process of interpreting these elements is intricate, requiring an understanding of the specific cultural and historical contexts that shape each tale. This nuanced interpretation process highlights the complexity of African storytelling traditions and their capacity to convey profound insights into human experiences and societal values. The interpretation of symbols and metaphors in African folktales is heavily dependent on cultural context. Each symbol or metaphor is embedded within a specific cultural framework, carrying meanings that are shaped by the beliefs, values, and practices of that culture. An animal or object might symbolize different things across cultures. For instance, while the spider represents wisdom and creativity in Akan culture through the figure of Anansi, in another culture, it might symbolize something entirely different. Understanding the rituals, social structures, and spiritual beliefs of a culture can also provide insights into the symbolic significance of certain elements in its folktales. The historical context of a folktale plays a significant role in interpreting its symbols and metaphors. These elements can serve as reflections of the societal issues, conflicts, or transitions that were prevalent at the time of the tale's origin or during its transmission. Symbols and metaphors can reveal the prevailing values and priorities of a society at a certain point in history, offering a lens through which to examine shifts in societal norms and ideals. In regions with histories of conflict or colonization, symbols and metaphors might also be interpreted as commentary on resistance, survival, and cultural resilience. Despite the specificity of their cultural and historical contexts, symbols and metaphors in African folktales often touch upon universal themes of the human condition. These themes allow the tales to transcend cultural boundaries, resonating with audiences around the world. Themes such as love, betrayal, courage, and the quest for identity are universally relatable, making the interpretation of symbols and metaphors within these narratives meaningful to a wide audience. Many symbols and metaphors are used to convey moral and ethical lessons that are relevant across different cultural and temporal contexts, highlighting shared human values and dilemmas. The symbols and metaphors embedded within African folktales are essential keys to unlocking the deeper meanings and teachings these stories hold. They enrich the narrative, adding layers of complexity that engage listeners emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. African folktales serve as a profound reflection of the continent's rich cultural heritage, embodying the collective wisdom, values, and identities of its myriad communities. In societies where oral tradition predominates, folktales are a vital link to the past, serving as the custodians of history, traditions, and genealogies. These stories offer a window into the lives of ancestors, preserving their experiences, achievements, and wisdom for future generations. African folktales function as oral archives, capturing the collective memory of communities and ensuring that their histories and traditions are not lost to time. By recounting tales of heroism, morality, and the supernatural, folk tales also foster a sense of continuity, connecting the present with the past and guiding future generations with the accumulated wisdom of their forebears. Folk tales mirror the societal norms and values of African communities, encapsulating the principles and behaviors esteemed by different cultures. Through narratives that celebrate virtues such as respect, community, and hospitality, these stories reinforce and transmit societal expectations. Folk tales serve as a tool for moral education, imparting lessons on ethics, responsibility, and the virtues valued by the community. They are an essential means of socializing children, teaching them the norms and values that will guide their interactions within the community. The themes and characters of African folk tales also reflect the ideas and aspirations of the communities from which they originate, showcasing the principles that bind these communities together. Through language, symbolism, and metaphor, African folk tales articulate unique cultural perspectives and celebrate the artistic heritage of African societies. The art of storytelling in Africa is characterized by a rich use of language, employing proverbs, riddles, and wordplay to weave complex narratives that are both engaging and instructive. African folk tales highlight the continent's cultural diversity, with each story providing insights into the customs, beliefs, and ways of life of different communities. This diversity is celebrated through tales that span the spectrum of human experience, from the mundane to the mystical. African folktales are not just repositories of cultural heritage, they are vibrant threads in the social fabric of African communities, playing a pivotal role in socialization, education, and maintaining social cohesion. These narratives, rich in wisdom and moral lessons, serve as a mirror reflecting societal norms, values, and the collective consciousness of the people. Folk tales are integral to the process of socialization in African societies, serving as a foundational educational tool that imparts the community's norms, values, and wisdom to younger generations. Through engaging narratives, children learn about morality, ethics, and the consequences of actions, helping to shape their understanding of right and wrong within the context of their community's values. Folk tales provide children with knowledge about their culture, history, and environment, fostering a sense of identity and belonging from a young age. African folktales often serve as subtle yet powerful mediums for social commentary, addressing issues of injustice, power dynamics, and social inequality within the narrative framework. Trickster tales, in which cunning characters outwit stronger foes, serve as a metaphorical critique of societal hierarchies, offering a voice to the marginalized and challenging unjust structures. Through allegory and metaphor, folk tales can comment on contemporary social issues, provoking thought and discussion among listeners about the state of their community and possible paths for social change. The communal nature of storytelling fashions in African societies fosters a sense of cohesion and unity, reinforcing social bonds and collective identity. Storytelling is often a communal activity, bringing together individuals of all ages. These gatherings reinforce community ties, creating a shared space for entertainment, learning, and social interaction. Through the communal experience of storytelling, individuals are reminded of their common heritage, reinforcing a sense of collective identity and belonging. This shared cultural experience strengthens the fabric of the community, promoting solidarity and mutual understanding. The social significance of African folktales extends far beyond their entertainment value, embedding these narratives deeply within the social structures of African communities. As tools for socialization and education, forums for social commentary, and catalysts for cohesion and unity, folk tales play a crucial role in shaping the moral and ethical landscape of societies, critiquing social injustices, and fostering a strong sense of community and shared identity. African folk tales are not merely narratives for entertainment. They embody the spiritual essence of the continent's diverse cultures, serving as a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. These tales reflect the deep spiritual engagement of African societies, exploring cosmology, morality, and the intricate relationships between humans, the divine, and the ancestral world. African folktales offer profound insights into the spiritual beliefs and cosmological views of different cultures, revealing how people perceive the universe and their place within it. Tales that recount the origins of the world and humanity provide glimpses into the cosmological beliefs of African societies, explaining the creation of the universe, the earth, and the interplay between the divine, humans, and nature. Narratives featuring gods, ancestors, and spirits underscore the close relationship between the physical and spiritual worlds, illustrating how these entities influence daily life and the natural environment. The spiritual dimension of African folktales often conveys lessons on morality and ethics, rooted in the belief that the spiritual and moral orders are intertwined. intertwined in virtues and spiritual consequences. Stories advocating for honesty, generosity, and respect reflect the spiritual underpinnings of moral behavior, suggesting that actions have consequences not only in the physical world but also in the spiritual realm. Intertwined in respect for ancestral spirits, tales emphasizing reverence for ancestors and the importance of maintaining spiritual connections with the past highlight the role of ancestral spirits in guiding and protecting the living, reinforcing the continuity between generations. In many African cultures, storytelling has become an integral part of healing and ritual practices that affirm the interconnectedness of health, well-being, and spirituality. Storytelling as healing folktales are often employed in healing rituals, serving to soothe psychological distress, invoke spiritual protection, and restore balance. The narrative act itself, embedded within a ritual context, can facilitate emotional and spiritual healing. Stories are used to accompany rituals that mark life transitions, invoke blessings, and seek guidance from the spiritual realm. Through these narratives, individuals and communities engage with spiritual forces, seeking to align themselves with a moral and cosmological order. Bravery, a theme deeply embedded in the fabric of African storytelling, resonates through tales of heroic deeds, legendary warriors, and moral courage. These stories not only entertain but also serve as a conduit for cultural values, imparting lessons on the virtues of courage and the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. The portrayal of heroes and legendary warriors in African folktales underscores the cultural admiration for bravery and valor. These characters, often inspired by historical figures or mythical archetypes, embody the qualities of courage and determination in the face of daunting challenges. Through their courageous actions, these heroes serve as role models, inspiring listeners with their fortitude, resilience, and dedication to their communities or causes. The feats of these legendary figures often symbolize the collective aspirations and values of the community, highlighting the esteem in which bravery is held. Also a common motif in African folktales is the confrontation with giants, monsters, or other formidable adversaries. These narratives celebrate the triumph of courage and ingenuity over seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The protagonist's ability to overcome these challenges symbolizes the power of bravery to conquer fear and adversity, offering hope and encouragement to listeners facing their own trials. These tales also often carry moral lessons about the importance of courage, perseverance, and the belief in one's abilities, reinforcing the idea that bravery can lead to victory even in the most dire circumstances. In African storytelling, bravery is not limited to physical feats. It also encompasses moral courage, the courage to uphold one's beliefs, speak the truth, and act with integrity, even when faced with personal risk or societal opposition. Tales that highlight the courage to confront injustice or stand up for what is right underscore the importance of moral bravery in maintaining social harmony and justice. Stories that focus on the challenges of making ethical decisions in difficult situations emphasize the role of moral courage in navigating the complexities of life, highlighting the value of integrity and righteousness. African folk tales, rich in narrative diversity, frequently explore the theme of wisdom, showcasing its pivotal role in overcoming obstacles, fostering community harmony, and navigating the complexities of life. In many African folktales, alders and phages are depicted as repositories of wisdom and guardians of communal knowledge. These characters, revered for their deep understanding and insight, often play crucial roles in guiding younger characters through life's trials. Elders and sages serve as mentors, offering counsel and wisdom that is essential for the protagonist's journey or for resolving conflicts within the community. Their presence in tales symbolizes the continuity of knowledge and tradition, underscoring the respect accorded to age and experience in African cultures. Trickster figures feature prominently in African folktales, embodying a different aspect of wisdom, cunning, ingenuity, and the ability to navigate challenges through cleverness rather than brute force. Tricksters often challenge societal norms and conventions, using their wit to subvert expectations and outsmart more powerful adversaries, thereby revealing truths and imparting lessons on the value of intelligence and adaptability. While tricksters may operate within a morally ambiguous space, their actions underscore the complexity of wisdom as a virtue that encompasses not just moral righteousness but also the cleverness to navigate life's gray areas. Riddles and proverbs are integral to the fabric of African folktales, serving as vehicles for conveying wisdom in a compact and memorable form. These elements challenge listeners to engage with the underlying meanings and lessons of the tales. The supernatural realm is a vital and vibrant aspect of African folktales, imbuing narratives with a sense of wonder, mystery, and spirituality that reflects the continent's rich cultural and spiritual traditions. Through tales of gods, spirits, magical objects, and ancestral interventions, African storytelling traverses the boundary between the seen and unseen, offering listeners insights into the profound connections between the physical world and the spiritual universe. In African folktales, the presence of gods, spirits, and ancestors is a testament to the deeply spiritual worldview that permeates many African cultures. These tales often depict the world where the spiritual and physical realms are intimately connected, with divine and ancestral beings playing an active role in human affairs. The interaction between the human world and the realm of deities, spirits, and ancestors in these tales underscores the belief in the interconnectedness of all life, where the spiritual dimension is as real and influential as the physical. These supernatural beings often provide guidance, protection, and support to human characters, but they can also serve as agents of admonishment or retribution, emphasizing the importance of moral integrity, respect, and adherence to cultural and spiritual laws. Tales featuring magical objects, animals with supernatural abilities, or individuals wielding extraordinary powers highlight the belief in a world infused with spiritual potency. These elements serve not only to enchant but also to symbolize deeper truths about the nature of power, responsibility, and the human condition. Magical elements in folktales symbolize the pervasive belief in a universe where spiritual forces can manifest in tangible forms, offering insights into the nature of power, its uses, and its potential consequences. The narratives often explore the themes of how such powers are acquired, used, and the moral responsibilities that come with them, reflecting on the dual potential for benefit and harm. The supernatural elements in African folktales frequently embody moral or spiritual lessons, serving as vehicles for conveying cultural values, ethical teachings, and the consequences of human actions in a spiritually interconnected world. Tales that emphasize the importance of humility and respect for the spiritual realm remind listeners of the limits of human knowledge and power, advocating for reverence towards the mysteries of the universe. Stories that portray the downfall of characters who disrespect sacred laws or misuse supernatural powers serve as cautionary tales, highlighting the virtues of wisdom, reverence, and the dangers of arrogance and disrespect. The supernatural in African folktales reflects the depth and complexity of the continent's spiritual and cultural landscapes, offering narratives that bridge the seen and unseen worlds. Through stories of divine beings, magical powers, and ancestral spirits, these tales convey profound moral and spiritual lessons, exploring themes of interconnectedness, respect for the spiritual realm, and the moral implications of human actions. Motifs in African folklore serve as foundational elements that thread through countless tales, providing a scaffold on which diverse cultures across the continent weave their unique narratives. These recurring elements, quests, transformations, tricksters, and animal characters, not only offer a familiar structure to the stories but also imbue them with deep cultural, moral, and spiritual. The quest motif is a cornerstone in African folktales, encapsulating the journey toward personal development, knowledge, or the fulfillment of a significant destiny. These narratives often feature protagonists who face and overcome formidable challenges, symbolizing the universal human struggle against adversity. Quests in African folktales frequently represent the pursuit of wisdom, truth, or essential qualities such as bravery, kindness, and integrity. The challenges encountered on these quests mirror life's trials, emphasizing the virtues of perseverance, courage, and ingenuity in navigating difficulties. Transformation is also a powerful motif in African folklore, reflecting themes of change, growth, and the dynamic nature of existence. Tales of transformation often convey profound lessons about identity, resilience, and the essence of true wealth and power. Stories of characters or objects undergoing transformation highlight the potential for growth and change, underscoring the importance of adaptability and openness to new experiences. Transformations frequently come with moral or spiritual insights, teaching lessons about the nature of true value, the impermanence of physical form, and the inherent worth of character and virtue. The trickster motif is prevalent across African folktales, epitomizing the complex interplay between order and chaos, morality and immorality. Trickster figures, with their cunning and often morally ambiguous actions, serve as agents of change, challenging established norms and provoking reflection on societal values and human behavior. Tricksters question authority, invert social norms, and expose truths, highlighting the fluid boundaries between right and wrong and the multifaceted nature of human morality. Through their actions, tricksters embody the dual aspects of creation and destruction, illustrating the transformative power of wit and ingenuity. Animal characters are central to the narrative landscape of African folktales, with each species often representing specific human traits or societal values. Through the lens of animal behavior, these tales explore complex human interactions, ethics, and social dynamics. Animals in folktales symbolize a wide range of human qualities, from bravery and wisdom to cunning and greed, allowing for the exploration of virtues and vices in an accessible and engaging manner. By projecting human behaviors onto animal characters, these stories facilitate discussions on ethics, morality, and the consequences of actions, providing a mirror to reflect on human society and individual conduct. The motifs of quests, transformations, tricksters, and animal characters in African folklore are not new narrative devices. They are deeply embedded in the continent's storytelling traditions, serving as vehicles for cultural expression, moral education, and social commentary. Through these motifs, African folktales communicate the values, beliefs, and wisdom of diverse cultures, offering insights into the complexities of human nature and the social fabric of communities. Through the symbolic representation of elements such as water, trees and forests, celestial bodies, and crossroads, African folktales communicate deeper truths and insights into the human and cosmic order. Water, with its life-giving and purifying qualities, is a potent symbol in African folktales embodying themes of life, purification, renewal, and destiny. It reflects the fluidity and transformative power of nature and life itself. Water's role in sustaining life and its cleansing properties make it a powerful symbol of purification, healing, and the renewal of life and spirit. Rivers, lakes, and rain often signify life's journey, the passage through different states of being, and the washing away of past wrongs, highlighting the cyclical nature of existence. Trees and forests hold deep symbolic significance in African folktales, representing life, growth, interconnectedness, as well as mystery and the journey of self-discovery. Trees symbolize life, growth, and the intricate web of relationships that sustain existence, underscoring the unity and interdependence of all living things. Forests are often depicted as places of mystery and testing, where characters undergo trials or initiations, symbolizing the challenges and transformations that are part of personal growth and understanding. The celestial symbols of the moon and stars are woven into the narratives of African folktales, representing guidance, the passage of time, and the divine presence, as well as human aspirations and the immortality of the spirit. Celestial bodies serve as symbols of guidance and the markers of time, reflecting the cycles of life and the enduring rhythms of the natural world. The moon and stars also symbolize human dreams and aspirations, pointing to the lofty ambitions of the human spirit and its connection to the divine cosmos. The crossroads also is a powerful symbol in African folklore, embodying choice, transformation, and the liminal space where the physical and spiritual worlds intersect. It is a place of potent decision-making and destiny. The crossroads symbolizes the critical points in life where decisions must be made, reflecting the choices that shape individual destinies and the transformative potential of those decisions. As a place where different paths converge, the crossroads also represents the meeting of the earthly and spiritual realms, highlighting the interconnectedness of the physical and metaphysical aspects of existence. Storytelling varied across regions, languages, and traditions. Let us always serve as a foundation for identity, belonging, and wisdom. Whether through programs, praise, poetry, or ethics, each narrative offered more than entertainment. It was a guide, a mirror, and a record of life. Leginsa legacy is more than history. It is celebration of resilience, creativity, and utility. It is witness to how the past still speaks powerfully into the present. My name is Prochinio Mijode.